The measuring spoon clattered against the metal bowl, the sharp sound echoing through the quiet bakery kitchen. I clenched my hands into fists, trying to steady my trembling fingers. I had made over 100 wedding cakes before, but none had ever felt as challenging as this one. It wasn't about the technique or the client's elaborate requests. It was the name on the contract, Ryan Anderson. The man who once bluntly told me I would never be anything more than a small-town girl with unrealistic dreams. I'm Harper, owner of the Sweet Spot, a small but welcoming bakery nestled in the heart of Willow Creek. From simple, sugar-dusted cupcakes to grand elaborate wedding cakes, I poured my love and passion into every creation. But today, my own hands betrayed me, trembling as I prepared the wedding cake for Ryan and his flawless fiancée, Emily. You need to cancel this contract right now. Julia's voice pulled me out of my spiraling thoughts. She leaned against the kitchen counter, her brown eyes filled with concern. Julia wasn't just my best friend. She was also my right hand at the bakery. This isn't a good idea. You're only going to hurt yourself, she insisted. I can't, I replied, still stirring the batter. This is a huge opportunity for the bakery to get noticed. Do you know how many potential clients will be at that wedding? You mean the wealthy guests at Ryan's wedding? Julia sighed, stepping closer and placing a hand on my wrist, stopping me. We're talking about Ryan, the guy who never believed in you. You don't owe him anything. I pulled my hand away, stubbornness flaring up inside me like a spark catching fire. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'm not doing it for Ryan or for anyone else. I'm doing this for myself, for the Sweet Spot. Julia studied me, her gaze soft yet firm. Then at least let me go with you, she offered. You shouldn't have to face them alone. I shook my head. There's no need. It's just business. Just a regular contract. Just a regular contract. Julia raised an eyebrow. You say that, but do you really believe it? Can't you see how they still look at you? Ryan, his friends, even his new fiancée. They still think you're the same little dreamer from years ago. I stayed silent, feeling Julia's words like tiny needles against my pride. They could think whatever they wanted, but I wouldn't let them see me hurt. I would show them strength, independence, success. The oven timer beeped. Quickly I pulled on gloves and retrieved a tray of golden fluffy cake layers. The rich aroma of butter and vanilla filled the kitchen, a scent that usually brought comfort, but today, it only stirred up old memories. Memories of baking Ryan's favorite cookies during those final days, only to be met with distance and cold, cutting words. Don't let them hurt you again, Julia said softly, and I could hear the genuine worry in her voice. I won't, I smiled, though a storm of emotions raged inside me. Let them say what they wanted. I would let my work speak louder than anything else. The afternoon blurred into a whirlwind of whisks and vibrant buttercream colors. Julia stayed by my side until the sun began to set, casting golden beams across the bakery's vintage tile floor. Before leaving, she reminded me to call her if anything went wrong. Alone at last, I opened the detailed wedding cake contract. 6 tiers of white chocolate and raspberry, adorned with hand-painted sugar flowers. Classic, elegant, breathtaking. The cost of this cake was probably more than what I had paid for my first car. Tracing a finger along the careful specifications, I couldn't help but remember Ryan's words from years ago. A baker, seriously. Emily, you're capable of so much more. Move to the city with me. I'll help you find a real career. Those old words no longer hurt. They only fueled my determination. Picking up my phone, I called Megan, a talented sugar artist I had worked with before. Megan, I need your help. Can you come to the bakery tomorrow morning? I want to create something truly special for this wedding. She agreed without hesitation, her cheerful voice bringing me a sense of relief. I looked out the window as the streetlights flickered on, casting warm golden streaks against the night sky. I promised myself, tomorrow I would walk into that wedding with my head held high. They could whisper, they could judge, but the only thing they would remember was the stunning cake. After locking up the bakery, shadows began to creep into every corner. In the silence I could hear my own heartbeat, each thud echoing with determination. Tomorrow would be a long day, but I knew that as long as I held on to my confidence and self-respect, I could face anything. In my mind a strong and unwavering promise echoed. This time I won't let anyone underestimate me. Ryan, I will show them all that the small-town girl from Willow Creek can achieve far more than they ever imagined. As my old Honda rumbled down the gravel path leading to the Adams estate, my heart pounded so hard it felt almost deafening. The estate rose in the distance, sprawling grounds, pristine white walls, marble columns and meticulously maintained gardens. This was the venue for Ryan Anderson and Madison Adams' wedding, the perfect couple at least in the eyes of high society. To me it felt like a grand theater staging a parade of appearances. I turned off the engine, took a deep breath, and stepped out. Immediately the eyes of the elegantly dressed guests shifted toward me. Under their scrutinizing gazes I maintained a composed smile, gripping the portfolio that held the sketches of the 6-tier wedding cake Megan and I had so carefully designed. "Oh, look who's here, the little baker from Willow Creek." A mocking voice rang out ahead. I spotted Ben, Ryan's longtime friend, standing among a group of people, a glass of wine in his hand, his green eyes flashing with condescension. "I didn't think you'd actually have the courage to show up," Ben continued, earning laughter from those around him as if he had said something clever. "I'm a professional, Ben," I said calmly, my voice steady. "I'm here for work. But I see you're still keeping up with your old habit of starting early." A few in the group snickered quietly. Ben's smile faltered, but before he could reply, a different voice broke in. "Emily Harper, I'm so glad you're here." Madison's voice was warm but carried an undertone I couldn't quite place. I turned to meet Madison's gaze. She wore a simple yet elegant white dress, her blonde hair pinned neatly, her makeup light but unable to fully hide the weariness in her eye. "I'm glad to meet you too, Madison," I replied, offering my hand. "I brought the sketches and sample cakes. I hope they match your vision." Madison nodded, a strange flicker passing through her blue eyes. "Can we speak privately?" she asked. "There are a few more details about the cake design I'd like to discuss." I followed Madison inside the estate. The lavish interior was overwhelming, gold accents, polished wood, sparkling chandeliers, but I kept my composure. Once the door to the living room closed behind us, Madison's demeanor shifted. "Would you like something to drink, tea or coffee?" she asked, though her tone hinted at something deeper. "Tea would be great," I said, keeping my voice as natural as possible. Madison poured tea from a white porcelain teapot, her movements slow and deliberate. As she sat down across from me, the air grew heavy with unspoken tension. "Emily," Madison began, her voice quiet but firm, "I know this might sound strange, but I need your help." Her eyes stayed fixed on the teacup in her hands. "Help?" I asked cautiously. "What do you mean?" Madison finally looked up, worry clouding her once bright gaze. "My family, they're not what everyone believes," she said. "Adams Corporation, it's not just about real estate and investment. Behind the scenes, they've been involved in questionable activities. They've pushed hundreds of families into hardship just for profit." Her words left me speechless. Adams Corporation was one of the most influential companies in the region, always praised for their charitable work and clean public image. "Are you serious?" I asked, barely above a whisper. I whispered, my eyes wide. Madison nodded, her voice dropping low. "They buy up low-income housing, spread false rumors to drive down property values, and then use their influence to push local governments into approving new developments. They demolish community centers, schools, even public housing, just to replace them with luxury apartments or shopping center." I set my teacup down, struggling to stay calm. "And Ryan, does he know about this?" Madison smirked. "Not only does he know, he's actively involved. He even helps my family with the financial paperwork, adjusting numbers to make everything look legitimate." A chill ran down my spine. Ryan, the man who once said I was ambitious enough to achieve great things, was part of something so unethical. "What do you want me to do?" I asked, though deep down, I already knew. Madison looked me straight in the eyes, her hands clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. "I want to expose the truth, and I think the wedding is the perfect opportunity. There will be reporters, business leaders, influencers, all of them gathered in one place. If everything is revealed right then and there, my family won't be able to cover it up." "But why me?" I questioned. "I'm just a small-town baker from Willow Creek." "Exactly," Madison said. "They would never suspect you. Someone they think has no power or influence. You could help hide the evidence within the wedding cake decorations and pass it to the reporters without anyone noticing." The air in the room grew heavy. Part of me wanted to back away from this whirlwind of trouble, but another part, the part that had been hurt and belittled by these very people, urged me to move forward. "I need to see the evidence first," I said firmly. Madison smiled, and for the first time I saw a flicker of relief in her eyes. "I'll show you, but think carefully, Emily. Once we start, there's no turning back." "I'm already in," I replied, feeling determination surge through every part of me. This time, I wouldn't let anyone underestimate me. Madison nodded and extended her hand. I took it, a silent promise passing between us. We would do this, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who had been crushed by the Addams family. And maybe, in this risky game, I would find my true strength, not just as a small-town baker, but as someone who could make a real difference. As I left the Addams estate that afternoon, it felt like stepping into a storm. Madison's words echoed in my mind, "They'll never see you coming." She was right. Ryan and the Addams family had always seen me as insignificant, but they were wrong, and this time, I would prove it. Back at the sweet spot, I immediately called Julia and Megan for an emergency meeting. We gathered around the old wooden table in the back room, surrounded by the familiar scent of butter and sugar, but none of us felt at ease. "I know this sounds crazy, but Madison is telling the truth," I began, my hands twisting under the table. "Her family has done terrible things to get rich, and she wants us to help expose them right at the wedding." "Wait, you mean we're going to hide evidence inside the wedding cake?" Megan exclaimed, her brown eyes widening. "Exactly," I nodded, opening my laptop to show them the documents Madison had sent me. She had mountains of evidence from shady real estate deals to falsified financial reports. We were going to hide USB drives containing the files inside the sugar flowers on the wedding cake. No one would suspect a thing. Julia stayed silent for a moment, studying the screen intently. "This is a huge opportunity to bring them down, but Emily, if we get caught, what happens to us? We have to be extremely careful." I admit, if we fail, they could use their power and resources against us, but if we succeed, we'll not only protect countless families, we'll reclaim our dignity too. Megan pressed her lips together, then stood up and rummaged through a cabinet, pulling out a small silicone mold. "If we make hollow sugar flowers, we can easily hide the USB drives inside without anyone noticing." Julia stood up as well, grabbing a notebook, and starting to sketch out a plan. "We'll need a detailed strategy from transporting the cake to handing off the evidence, and we'll need a trusted reporter. Madison already has connections," I said. "She'll make sure the right reporters are there. We just have to get the evidence into their hands at the right time." The next few days were filled with tension, but also, during the day, we ran the sweet spot like normal, serving cupcakes and fresh coffee, but after hours, the bakery transformed into a secret headquarters. Megan meticulously crafted delicate sugar flowers, each petal fragile as morning dew, yet hollow enough to conceal tiny USB drives. Julia coordinated the final details with Madison's signaling protocols, backup plans, and I spent every spare moment reviewing the evidence, ensuring everything was perfectly organized. One afternoon, as we were working on the flowers, the bakery door suddenly swung open. I looked up, my heart nearly stopped. Sylvia, Madison's sister, had just walked in. "Oh, hello, Sylvia," I said, forcing a calm tone, even as my palms turned clammy behind my back. "Are you here to place an order?" Sylvia offered a faint smile, but her sharp eyes betrayed her suspicion. "I just wanted to drop by and see how everything's going," Madison said. "You're handling the wedding cake, and I want to make sure everything will be perfect." "Of course," Megan responded smoothly, not even pausing as she delicately worked on a sugar petal. "We're fully prepared. I promise you won't be disappointed." Sylvia moved slowly around the shop, her gaze scrutinizing every corner. "It's quite surprising," she said. "I didn't think a small bakery like this could manage such an extravagant wedding cake." Julia chuckled lightly, not showing a hint of concern. "We've catered many large events in the area. You can check out recent articles. The sweet spot has been featured in several wedding magazines." Sylvia stopped in front of a completed sugar flower, her finger gently brushing against its petal. "These flowers are exquisite. Can I see inside? I'm curious if there's anything special about them." My heart pounded in my chest, but Megan quickly picked up another flower from a nearby tray, one that didn't contain a USB. "Here, you can see we use 3D modeling techniques to achieve such sharp detail." Sylvia stared at Megan for a few seconds, then gave a cold smile. "I'm just kidding. I must be too sensitive. Anyway, I hope the cake will be perfect on the big day." When the door closed behind Sylvia, all three of us exhaled a collective sigh of relief. Julia placed a hand on my shoulder, her voice full of concern. "She suspects us. We need to move faster than planned." I nodded, my eyes still fixed on the door. "Madison needs to know about this immediately. We have to accelerate the plan before Sylvia can warn her family." Julia quickly picked up the phone and started calling Madison, while Megan carefully sorted through the completed sugar flowers, inspecting each one with precision. I looked around my small bakery, feeling as if everything familiar had transformed into a quiet battle, but I knew that in order to achieve justice and protect those who had been hurt, I couldn't stop now. This was no longer just about revenge or proving my worth. It was an opportunity for me, Julia, and Megan to stand up using our baking skills to expose the truth. We weren't heroes, but sometimes ordinary people could make an extraordinary difference. The wedding at the Adams estate unfolded under a clear blue sky with sunlight gently filtering through the old trees, creating a fairy tale setting. Guests filled the venue, their gowns sparkling with metallic hues, tailored suits polished to perfection, and classical music flowing softly from the orchestra. I stood in a quiet corner, my hand gripping my phone waiting for Madison's signal. The 6-tier wedding cake, a masterpiece crafted by me, Megan, and Julia, stood proudly in the center of the grand hall. The delicate sugar flowers, each hiding a USB filled with evidence, looked like living works of art. Just one signal from Madison, and all the dark secrets of the Adams family would be exposed. Madison appeared at the end of the hall, dressed in a pure white gown. She moved gracefully, but her eyes were filled with resolve. Beside her, Ryan smiled, his hands tightly holding his bride, completely unaware of the approaching storm. As they reached the stage, Sylvia stepped up to the microphone, her face radiating cold confidence. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sylvia began, her voice clear in the spacious room. "Before the ceremony begins, I'd like to say a few words." Madison glanced at Sylvia, and for a brief moment, I saw her shoulders tense. I lightly tapped my phone screen, sending a short message to Julia and Megan. "Get ready. I just want to thank everyone for being here today," Sylvia continued, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "The Adams family has always prided itself on honesty and transparency in everything we do. We always put the community's interests first." Madison suddenly snatched the microphone from Sylvia's hand, plunging the entire hall into silence. "Transparency," she let out a bitter laugh. "Are you talking about our family?" The tension in the air was suffocating. Ryan grabbed Madison's hand, whispering something, but she pushed him away. "Madison, what are you doing?" Ryan's voice trembled. "I just want everyone to know the truth," Madison said, her eyes blazing. "The truth about what the Adams family has done. Shady business deals, community centers demolished to build luxury apartments, families forced out of their homes because they couldn't afford to stay." The guests began murmuring, many pulling out their phones to record what was happening. "Enough," Sylvia screamed, lunging forward to grab the microphone. "You're ruining." "No, you're the one who ruined it," Madison shot back. "And I'm not the only one who knows the truth." That was the signal. I pressed a button on my phone, activating the USB drives to release the document. The reporters we had contacted earlier began receiving the files, their phone and tablet screens lighting up with documents, emails, and forged contracts. Ryan looked around, his expression shifting from confusion to panic. "Madison, stop. You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing," Madison replied, her voice unwavering. "And this is only the beginning." The grand doors swung open, and a group of police officers entered, led by Detective Collins, the contact Tabitha had helped us reach. He held up an arrest warrant, his voice calm but firm. "Ryan Anderson, Sylvia Adams, and all parties involved, you are under arrest for financial fraud, embezzlement, and public property destruction." The room erupted into chaos. Guests tried to back away, many filming and taking pictures. Reporters rushed forward, microphones and cameras aimed at the Adams family. Sylvia tried to break free but was quickly restrained by the police. Ryan stood frozen, his eyes fixed on Madison as if he couldn't believe what was happening. "Emily Harper," Ryan shouted when he saw me standing nearby. "You did this. You'll pay for this." "No, Ryan." I stepped forward, keeping a safe distance. "You dug your own hole. I just helped you fall into it faster." Madison looked at me, her smile gentle but filled with meaning. "Thank you, Emily. It's because of you that the truth came to light today." As the police led away the culprits, I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. People began leaving the estate, the wedding completely shattered. But for Madison and me, it wasn't the end, it was a new beginning. 3 months later, I stood before the new sign of the bakery, now named Sweet Endings and Beginnings. The former Adams Corporation building had been transformed into a community center, with the help of charitable organizations and generous donors. Here, we hosted cooking classes, job training, and support services for families affected by the Adams family's projects. Madison became my partner in the bakery. She left behind her luxurious but deceitful life to start fresh, and she did amazingly well. Megan and Julia continued to stand by my side, and together we didn't just make sweet cakes, we built a real community. One afternoon, as the gentle sunset bathed our small street, I looked around the bustling bakery, filled with happy customers and the lively sound of laughter. A group of children had just finished a baking class, proudly holding the cupcakes they had decorated themselves, their faces beaming with joy. Madison walked over, handing me a cup of hot coffee. "We did it, Emily. We really changed everything." The wind chimes rang softly as the door to Sweet Endings and Beginnings opened. I looked up from the coffee counter, smiling to welcome a new group of customers. They were families who had recently moved into the community housing we had helped create. The children's eyes sparkled as they saw the colorful cupcakes in the display case, and I saw a bit of myself in them. A little girl who once dreamed of sweet things despite the injustices and hardships around her. Madison emerged from the kitchen, carrying a tray of freshly baked treats, the steam rising in gentle swirls. "Who wants to try some hot chocolate cake?" she called out cheerfully, and the kids responded with excited shouts. Watching the scene unfold, I couldn't help but think back to that chaotic day, the day when all the secrets came to light and justice was finally served. Our actions weren't about hurting anyone, but about righting wrongs and bringing fairness to those who were affected. We didn't just reclaim our own dignity, we opened new doors for the entire community. The old Adams Corporation building was now a vibrant space. It hosted life skills classes, job counseling sessions and play activities for children. We had transformed what once symbolized greed and selfishness into a beacon of hope and compassion. "Everyone loves your wedding cake." An elderly gentleman approached the counter, his kind eyes peering over his glasses. "You created a miracle, not just with the cake, but with this whole town." "I just did what needed to be done," I replied, though warmth filled my heart. In the past few days, we had received countless thank yous from families we had helped, and from those who had once been wronged by the Addams family. It made me realize that sometimes revenge doesn't need to be loud or hurtful. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is living well and turning setbacks into opportunities for positive change. Julia came over, handing me a fresh newspaper. On the front page was a photo of the newly opened community center with the proud headline, "From the ruins of the past, a new community rises." "We did it," Julia said, her voice filled with emotion. "Who would have thought a small bakery could make such a big difference?" "Yes," I smiled, watching the customers enjoy their sweet treats. "And the best part is, we did it with perseverance, courage and faith in ourselves." The sky outside was a deep blue and the golden sunlight poured through the glass windows, casting shimmering patterns on the old tile floor. I knew the road ahead would be long, with more challenges to face, but now I felt ready to embrace it all. In the warm space of our little bakery, surrounded by children's laughter, and the sweet aroma of butter and vanilla, I finally felt a true sense of peace. A new journey where sweetness came not only from the cakes but also from the hearts of everyone around us. Emily Harper's story is not just a tale of sweet revenge, but a powerful testament to the strength of perseverance and courage. From a girl who was once belittled, Emily rose, turning her wounds into motivation and using her passion for baking to bring justice and positive change to her community. Her story reminds us that sometimes the best revenge isn't about causing harm, but about living well and creating true value in life. What do you think about Emily Harper's story and her journey to justice through courage and perseverance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to follow our channel to catch more inspiring stories about family life and valuable life lessons.